The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Of course, I'm your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. What a long day. Man, it feels good to finally get in front of you guys. I feel like I've been doing so many things for so many people, and I haven't had a chance to sit down and do anything for myself. So shout out to Rio. Just had a blast doing his show on his channel. Hopefully you were able to partake in some of that. Also did something with Justin Pugh on his channel. And that'll be up down the road. And when it finally hits, I'll be sure to let you guys know so you can check that show out. That was fun. And so now let's go ahead and chop it up about this team, all of the things that transpired today. So many things happened today. The stadium has new naming rights. So now Commanders Field will be called Northwest Field, Northwest Federal Field or something like that. We're probably just going to call it Northwest, more likely than not. So there's a little bit of that news. It's less about what the stadium's going to be called because, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care what the stadium is called as much as how long they signed these rights for, which kind of jumped off the screen at me. Now, granted, I read that they can get like these naming rights don't prohibit them from, having a new stadium built and playing in a new stadium. I'm assuming that the naming rights would carry over to the new stadium. Let's say that the new stadium was ready to rock in 2030. Well, they would have 2 years left with the naming rights with Northwest Federal Credit Union. And thus, my guess is the new stadium will be called that for 2 years until their contract ran out. And if they wanted to re-up with them, they could. But I think that the stadium won't be ready by the time this thing runs out. That's the biggest takeaway for me with that. But at the end of the day, we'll see. It just feels like we're never going to get a new stadium. That's what it feels like to me. I don't know. It just feels like they keep telling us on some military shit, hurry up and wait. Hurry up and wait. So whatever, right? New name for the stadium. Hooray. Great job. It is what it is. I start winning games, fill it up with the right color jerseys, right? With the right type of fans, and let's get this thing going, whatever the hell it's called, right? Anyway, I digress. Let's get to the order of business today. And I know you've probably been hearing this all day over and over and over and over and over again. So I don't know. You might be almost at this point tired of hearing about the roster. I mean, I don't know if you've gotten fatigue at this point because I'm pretty sure you've been hearing people talk about it all day. And so you might be at the point now where you're like, all right, I heard enough of this. But I was glad I was able to get my video out earlier so that you could see my real-time reaction. That was fun. Being live as the information was coming out, it felt like free agency, so to speak, almost like the draft. You know how when we do the draft, it's live and you're reacting to it, in real time. That was fun, being on Bleacher Report and not having all the information. The names were coming out very slow. And then, boom, they dropped the list on the website. I had access to it, I think, before anybody put the list up on social media. So it was like everything was new, it was fresh, and it felt like I was breaking news. It was great. But more so than breaking news, I had a real raw reaction to everything that happened. And it was funny. I want to actually go back and watch it. I haven't gone back and watched, but I just remember in the moment going through the list of names, reading them. None of them surprised me. Okay, cool. Got it. And then getting to the list, going back to the offense. And I went through the tight ends. Wait. Hold on. I don't remember reading Colson Yankoff's name. Wait a minute. I don't remember saying his name. Going back, looking at the list, seeing that his name wasn't up there, and going, holy shit, Colson Yankoff just made the roster. Now, again, I told you, whomever that fourth tight end was going to be, and there was never, ever a real question as to who the fourth tight end was going to be. It was always Cole Turner. Well, I remember I put Cole Turner in as a placeholder. That's all that Colson Yankoff represents for me right now. If they put in waiver claims for 2 or 3 guys and they're awarded those players, Colson Yankoff will be one of the first guys that they reach back and grab the roster spot from. But it's still a hell of a feat for a guy that started out as a collegiate quarterback, transferred, ended up as a running back, and then his very first time playing tight end was in the NFL, right? He converted over the tight end. Really, I think he converted over to tight end in the NFL. He played running back. I remember talking to Logan Paulson, and we talked about how weird it was watching his tape. This big, tall, 6'4" guy in the backfield as a running back. It was just weird to see. He was utilized and typecast at U Club because Chip Kelly doesn't really believe in the tight end position. So it's amazing that he was able to make the roster. It's one of the biggest, I called it upsets that I can recall from a roster standpoint that I've seen in a long time. I didn't see that one coming. And I told you guys that I was going to be surprised. I wasn't going to be surprised by much. Only thing that would have surprised me is if Jamin Davis got cut. You know, it was just funny listening to the beat reporters that cover the team go, when KJ Henry got cut, well, that bodes well for Jamin Davis. I'm like, I don't give a shit what happened with KJ Henry. Jamin Davis was making this goddamn roster. Like, I never got the sense that Jamin Davis wasn't going to be here. But I never got the sense that Colson Yankoff was going to be here in a 53-man roster capacity. And I don't think that that's going to hold up for very much longer. But good for him. Good for him. Anyway, let's talk about the roster. And then I want to do something that I don't think many people have done yet. Maybe somebody has done this, but I want to project the 17 guys, or 17 guys, because we have one player in the international pathway program. So you're allowed a 17th practice squad spot for the international pathway program player. So that's why Dan Quinn would always say 70 players, because it's 16 on your practice squad, and then we have the international pathway player. So that gives you 17. So you add 17 plus 53, you get a whopping 70. So we'll do that a little bit later in the show. So let's go through the initial 53-man roster, talk about the things that surprised me, things that stood out. Again, you've probably heard this from me and others a bunch already, but I'll go through it very quickly. I did not see 3 quarterbacks being kept on the roster. I knew that there was a path to 3, but I didn't see 3 coming. So this was a bit of a surprise. I love that they did this, though, because I talked about the dilemma you could find yourself in should Jeff Driscoll be signed by another team. And there are other teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, for instance, that could use a Jeff Driscoll as their backup quarterback. Jeff Driscoll is better than any quarterback that the Eagles have on their roster not named Jalen Hurts. So to cut Jeff Driscoll, you weren't getting him back. And then you would be searching through the rest of the wreckage of backup quarterbacks who have been cut loose, looking to sign one of them to your practice squad, but they're not familiar with your system. They're not playing at the level of a Jeff Driscoll. And then take it a step further, Sam Hartman's going to be the only other quarterback on your practice squad. Do you really want to live in that world where Sam Hartman is literally 2 plays away from being your starter or playing meaningful snaps for you? You don't want to live in that world. So I love that they held on to Jeff Driscoll. I just didn't think they were going to do it. Good for them. The 3 running backs, I kind of saw that one a long time ago, right? Once we saw the pecking order with the running backs, I told you I'm a little bit, maybe too much so, big on when guys get in the game, and I pay attention to that. And then I'm big on listening to what is being said. That's why every day during training camp, I would come and I would talk to you about what Dan Quinn was saying, because I think that is just as, if not more so, important than what's happening in these preseason games. And so Jeremy McNichols felt like a lock with the way that he described special teams. It felt like Jeremy McNichols was a shoo-in to make this roster. And I know a lot of you wanted Wiley. Somebody said, I can't believe you gave up your campaign. I know how this goes, listening. And Quinn hasn't lied to me yet. DQ has not lied to me yet. So that one was what I expected. Receiver. Okay. Double O time. A lot of you were on Jamison Crowder. You couldn't believe that I kept leaving him off the roster. And somebody yesterday said Jamison Crowder is 100% on this roster. And a lot of you felt that way. I wasn't dismissive of you guys, not like I normally am when I don't agree, especially when I just think you're flat out wrong. I didn't think you were flat out wrong. I just didn't think he was going to be here. I didn't think he was going to be here, and I still don't. I'm still 10 toes down that when this thing is finalized and we get to, Jamison Crowder will not be on this roster. I'm almost willing to bet any amount of money. I said almost, that they put in a waiver claim for a receiver. If they're awarded that receiver, Jamison Crowder is the roster spot they're coming after. They're not keeping 7 receivers. So I'm still not moving off of that hill. I'm going to die on that hill until they say, hey, wake up. Jamison Crowder's on this roster. And then I'll get off of the hill and I'll move on. But for right now, I'm dying on that hill. And okay. I was wrong. Jamison Crowder is on this roster. Double O. There you have it. Same 6 that you thought would be here if Crowder was included. I had 5. I knew Martavis Bryant wasn't going to make this roster. A lot of you, I told you guys you were prisoners of the moment. And I told you DQ literally told us with his answer after the game. He essentially told the fan base, hey, don't get carried away. That was a nice story. We were really proud of him and Trace McSorley for doing what they did. But make no mistake about it, we still have business to attend to. And yeah, that was a fun, neat little story there, and it was a nice, neat deal. But we got a roster to put together. And Martavis Bryant isn't a part of that roster. So not surprised that he didn't make the team. So many of you got caught up in the hysteria of Sunday night. You got to be careful. Tight ends, obviously the upset of all upsets. We knew the first 3 guys. I only had 3 tight ends. I didn't expect a 4th after we found out that Cole Turner was not going to make. And we already knew Cole Turner was going to make the roster. We felt like he played his way off of the roster. Initially, when the summer first began, Cole Turner was on this team, and he systematically played his way off the roster. I didn't think Colson Yankoff was playing his way onto it. But again, much like I said with Jamison Crowder, I expect Colson Yankoff to have his roster spot yanked off. You see what I did there? Huh? Yeah? When they put in these waiver claims, they'll come for his spot. But they like him a lot. So do I. And then offensive line, this was the position that I didn't have as good of a handle on as I wanted to. Now, I had 10. Somebody yesterday said, bro, the number is 9. Spot on. You were spot on. Pow, pow. You hit that rate center cut bullseye, right? So the number was 9. It was the same 9 that many of you probably predicted. I wasn't a Trent Scott guy because I thought that they didn't need another tackle. Now you have 5 tackles on the roster: Coleman, Lucas, Wiley, Paul, Scott. I didn't think they needed 5 tackles, but remember, Paul and Scott can both play guard, and that's what probably saved Trent and Scott, is that Julian Good-Jones wasn't necessary. Neither was Ricky Stromberg, because you got enough guys that can play center, and if you can play center, then you can play guard, essentially. And if you can't play center and guard, then you play guard and tackle. Either way, they got enough guards and they got enough centers. And so Scott being able to play guard saved him on this roster, ultimately. So they went with Coleman, Allegretti, Biotish, Cosme, Wiley, Lucas, Dieter, Paul, and Scott. So instead of 10, they trimmed it to 9. And instead of going with the 2 guards that could play center, they went with the guard that could play tackle in Trent Scott. So 25 on the offensive side of football. So I did get that part right too. 25, 25, and 3. That's how you draw it up. Rarely does it come out that way, though. So let's get to the defense. And again, you can find yourself being caught up in the semantics of where guys are listed. You know, I didn't really allow the semantics of where guys are listed to bother me. To me, Dante Fowler Jr. is an edge rusher. Jamin Davis, they have him listed as a defensive end. He's a linebacker until further, otherwise notified and till further notice is given. He's a linebacker. Now, I only see Jamin Davis lining up as a defensive end. Okay, cool. It's just all, like I said, it's all semantics. They're all on the defense. So let's see. I think I got the number count. I might be off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it should be 8. So let me clean that up real quick. It should be 8 defensive linemen, because I did the same thing on the stream where I had the count off, because it should be 25 on this side of the ball too. Let's see. And yeah, so 13, 18, that's 24. So I got the count wrong somewhere here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 5. That's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Huh. How is that coming out to 24? Should be 25. That means I'm missing somebody somewhere that I don't have listed on the roster. Dorrance Armstrong, Cleveland Farrell, Dante. Let me go. I always mess up when I don't put them in the starter lineup. So Dorrance Armstrong, Cleveland Farrell, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Dante Fowler Jr. Oh, that's where the mess up is. Yeah, because I still can't believe he's on the roster. I left off your boy, Javonte. John. We're just going to put B so we can fit it. I don't feel like moving everything around. John B. All right. So it is 9. That number is, in fact, 9. And then that makes everything in the world correct. And so this was the biggest surprise and shocker of the defensive side of the ball. If Yankoff is the biggest surprise on the offensive side, the biggest surprise on the defensive side was Javonte John Baptiste making the roster over KJ Henry. So let's talk about that for a second, because I saw a lot of fans up in arms about KJ. First of all, we have this. Can we have this conversation real quick? I'm not including myself in this. Our fan base has this fascination with hyping up Jags and making them into these larger than life figures, these players that are way better than they really truly are, and then getting upset when somebody looks you in the face and tells you, hey, that dude is basic. He's a Jag. And then they lose their shit. Like, what are you talking about? This guy's been very productive in the preseason, and this guy hustles and he tries hard. And what are you talking about? Is that what it, do you want a gold star for a guy that plays hard and he hustles? Yeah. What are you looking for? Huh? You want a gold medal for a guy that tries hard and gives maximum effort? Yeah. You better be out here being disruptive and destructive and being a guy that we can count on when put in the game to make a difference, to make a play. KJ Henry is basic. I told you guys that 2 months ago. KJ Henry wouldn't be here if F.A. Obata was healthy. I told you guys that then, and I kept repeating it, even though I kept putting him on the roster. I said, if F.A. were here, just know, and I had to keep telling you that so you knew how I felt about KJ. No disrespect to KJ. I had somebody in the comment section say, what's your deal? What beef do you have with KJ Henry? You need to wash your face and get your mind right. Then he said, I'm just kidding, but he likes KJ. And he knows that I don't really love KJ. And I never did. And I have nothing against KJ Henry. He's basic. Dime a dozen edge rusher. You can find him anywhere. 5th, 6th, 7th round, undrafted. There are a bunch of those dudes circulating around the league right now. So when they cut him, I was just like, huh, interesting. And I don't know why the loose ends that were created by KJ Henry being released, I don't know why those loose ends didn't connect. And I didn't think, oh, they must be keeping Javonte John Baptiste, their draft pick. That didn't register because and this is the danger when you tell yourself something over and over and over and over again, is then in your mind, it can't happen, right? And so I told myself from the day they drafted this kid, he's not making the roster. All the rest of their draft picks are making the team. And I kept preaching that to you. I said, but Javonte John Baptiste won't make the team. He'll be on the practice squad. And I kept telling myself that. And when you keep repeating something over and over again, your brain automatically makes it true. So when they cut KJ Henry, I was like, oh, they must be reallocating that position somewhere else. They got Jamin Davis, who's a guy that can, be an edge rusher. And, I did all of these different configurations in my mind. Never once did I say, oh, Javonte John Baptiste is on the roster now. Never happened. So that was a bit of a surprise. I'm so glad too. I know you guys saw that they were shopping John Ridgeway III. I'm so glad they got no takers for him. And look, he's not out of the water yet. Just because they didn't get a deal done by 4 o'clock today doesn't mean they don't get a deal done for him tomorrow, right? They might say, hey, there's a guy that we really like that we put a waiver claim in for, and if we get him, we'll trade you John Ridgeway for a 7th round pick. If we don't get him, then we got to hold on to John Ridgeway. And so he could be gone still. But I like John Ridgeway a lot. And I hope he's here. And again, a lot of why I want Ridgeway here is because I don't trust Johnny Newton yet. You have not shown me the ability to stay healthy for me to be getting rid of competent defensive tackles that can contribute in some way, shape, or form. I can also tell you this. I don't know how injured Norrell Pollard is, but if he were healthy, I think his ass is on this roster. I went to the gym today and I was walking back home from the gym. And I said, you know what? I think I missed on Norrell Pollard. I think he's going to make the roster. And I meant to bring him up. And then they put him on IR. I think his season might be done. They put 3 guys on IR. 2 of them, I think they put them on season-ending IR so that they can stash them away and get back to them next year. Normally, that's what you do with guys that aren't going to be on your roster, don't want to expose them to the rest of the league, but you want to hold on to them. You just put them on IR. He can have an ankle sprain. Hey, you on IR for the whole season, right? Remember they did that same thing to Cam Sims about 4 years ago? He had an ankle sprain, would have been good in 3 weeks, and they just put him on IR, season-ending IR, and that was it because they didn't want to lose him. But anyway, I'm glad Ridgeway is still here. That doesn't mean he will be here tomorrow or the day after that, but he's here for now, and I'm glad that took place. 5 linebackers: Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, Jamin Davis, Michael Walker, and Dominique Hampton. If you want, when Washington put out their roster, they had Fowler Jr. with the linebackers, Jamin Davis with the defensive line. Whatever. You do whatever you want. This is how I want to do it. But it's still 5 linebackers either way. Either way you slice it. Still 9 defensive linemen. Either way you slice it. Dominique Hampton, they moved him from safety, so it doesn't look as bad when you have 6 safeties versus 7. So they moved him to linebacker. Good, cool, whatever. I knew they weren't going to cut him. I knew that much because that's their draft pick, right? So you knew they weren't going to cut him. Cornerback, 5. I had these 5 the entire time. It never changed. This one was the easiest position to prognosticate. Forbes, St. Juice, Davis, St. Rastil, Igbenogany. Never thought that one was going to move or change or any of that. So, safety, I had 7. They moved Dominique Hampton, a linebacker, so I cut it down to 6. Quan Martin, Jeremy Chin, Percy Butler, Derek Forrest, Jeremy Reeves, Tyler Owens. Congratulations to Tyler Owens, along with Colson Yankoff, being 2 undrafted rookies to make this roster. It is so hard to be an undrafted rookie and make an NFL roster, and those 2 guys did it. Owens feels more sure, like he's going to stick, whereas Yankoff feels like he's a placeholder. But that gives you 25 on defense. 9 defensive linemen, 5 linebackers, that's 14. 5 corners, that's 19. And then 6 safeties rounds out the defense with 25 defenders. Then you go to the specialists, obviously, the 3 guys: Tress Way at punter, Cade York at place kicker, and Tyler Ott at long snapper. So let's talk about that, the group, right? So of the players that they kept, they tried to trade Ricky. Let's just talk about the overall day. They tried to trade Ricky Stromberg. There was no market for him. They tried to trade Cole Turner. There was no market for him. They tried to trade John Ridgway. There could have been a market, but again, I think they're going to put in some waiver claims, and we'll see, right? I'm interested to see what claims they put in for whom and how many of them do they get. I don't think it's going to be this crazy amount of, claims that they put in, where, they end up putting in 5 or 6 claims and walk away with 4 or 5 guys. I don't see them going out and going shopping. That's shopping, folks. It's one thing to go to the store real quick. Hey, man, we need some bread. And can you pick me up a pack of lemon cookies too while you're there? You just went in and grabbed a couple items, right? When you grab a cart, when you go to the store and you grab a cart, you're going shopping, right? When I'm going in there and I'm just picking up a couple items, either I get one of the hand baskets or I don't get anything because I'm not planning on picking up a bunch of stuff. They're not going shopping, all right? They might pick up a hand cart, right? A hand basket, but the likelihood is they're just going to walk into this little free agency pool here with all these players that have been cut. They're going right in the store, they're grabbing 2 or 3 items and they're coming out. That's it. That's what I see. I could be wrong. And they could grab a cart and throw about 7 items in and get 5 of them because Carolina claimed 2 of those players. But the likelihood is they're going in here, they're going to grab 3 things, and Carolina like, oh, let me get that. You're like, come on, man. Like, nope, let it go. It's mine. And we walk away with 2, even though we put in 3 claims. We'll see, right? Obviously, Yankoff, surprise, but I think he's a placeholder. Crowder, a surprise for me, maybe not to you. Surprise to me, because I just don't see the value in a Jamison Crowder as a veteran that you could probably get onto the practice squad. But I think he's a placeholder too, potentially. And then defensively, this is the thing about KJ Henry versus Javonte John Baptiste. And this is the part where I side with a lot of the people that were frustrated. I told you guys all offseason, this is how this was going to go, right? If it came down to 2 players with an even footing, right? With a level playing field, all things considered equal, they were going to choose their guy over the guy that was here previous, right? That's how this goes. Except it didn't feel even, right? It didn't feel like Javonte John Baptiste was playing at the same level as a KJ Henry. And he wasn't. And he shouldn't be playing at the same level. KJ Henry was in the NFL last year and played meaningful snaps last season. He should be ahead of where Javonte John Baptiste is. And he looked like he was ahead of him. And so when you look at the lack of depth at defensive end, it didn't necessitate that you cut a guy like KJ Henry. Not right now, at least. And that's where I'd probably say I side with the people that said, what are we doing here? Why is he not on the roster? Now, if we're just talking strictly off of talent, get KJ Henry the hell out of here, right? Get him out of here. He's a Jag. And you know why? I love the move. I love the fact that they said, yeah, we don't have a lot of talent at defensive end, but we're not keeping dudes just for the sake of keeping dudes. I love that shit. Because you know what the last group used to do? Keep players just for the sake of keeping players. Jag or not a Jag? We don't have enough of those. Just let them stay, right? Yeah, we probably should cut him, but he's not hurting anybody. Just leave him alone. Leave him there, right? No, F that. If you're not good enough, there's the door. Deuces, right? KJ Henry is basic. I'm not telling you Javonte John Baptiste is any better, but at least we drafted him and we believe in him. So we're going to give him a chance. And if we find something out on the streets better, Javonte can go to the practice squad. But for now, we'll hold on to Javonte, see what he has. KJ's not our guy, and KJ's not a difference maker. So we move on. Cole Turner. Is Cole Turner right now better than Colson Yankoff? Yes. Yeah, he is. Been in the league 3 years. I would hope he'd be better. But guess what? Cole Turner is a Jag. So you know what I'm not going to do? Because Colson Yankoff is a undrafted rookie and I know I can get him on my practice squad. You know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to continue to waste time with a Jag when I got a young man here that I want to continue to develop. And you're not going to really develop if you're on the practice squad. It's just how it goes. It's good to get reps, repping the other team's shit, but it's better if you're repping our shit in our scheme instead of the other team and being on the scout team, okay? So, hey, Cole, door, that way, deuces, right? I love it because the old group would have said, Cole's not hurting anybody. Just leave him there, okay? He's fine. Don't worry about him. No. He is hurting somebody. He's hurting Colson Yankoff, who could be developing. So get his ass out of here. He's dead weight. I love the fact that they didn't just let dudes slide. Like, hey, KJ's not hurting anybody. Just leave him there. He's fine. Bullshit. If you ain't cutting it, if you ain't good enough, you got to go. So I personally don't have a problem with them moving on from KJ Henry, with them moving on from Cole Turner. I like that they said, no, you got to actually serve a real purpose or else we'd rather just develop a young guy in your place. That's sound logic to me. After years of watching this team settle, which is what we've done. We've done a lot of settling over the years. We're fine. We'll just settle for Peyton Barber. We're fine at running back. Don't worry about it. We'll settle for Peyton Barber, right? I would say that they did that with Jeremy McNichols, except they value special teams. Cool. As long as you got a plan, you know what you're looking for. Again, as long as you set the standard of what you're looking for, you'll get no qualms out of me. You get no pushback from me as long as you set the standard. And they've set the standard. Dan Quinn told us, hey, if you're not a starter, your ass better be on some special teams and you better be killing the shit. We value that more than you being a backup and being really good as a backup, but you can't help us on special teams. We value the special teams backup first. So if you're going to be RB3, when we know RB1 and 2 are going to take the bulk of the snaps, you better be a damn good special teams player. And Michael Wiley ain't a great special teams player. And Dan Quinn told us a lot of times when you get dudes who were the best player on their college teams, they're not playing special teams. So they don't really know how to play special teams. You got to teach them how to play special. Jeremy McNichols has been fighting for his NFL life since he got to the league. That dude know how to play special teams after being in the league for 5 years and having to make his mark on special teams to keep collecting a check. So you damn right, he's way ahead of Michael Wiley as a special teams player. Makes a ton of sense. Martavis Bryant ain't helping you on special teams. That's why he's not here. If Martavis Bryant had value on special teams, he probably would have been here over Jamison Crowder. But he doesn't. So he's not. And I can dig that. I can get down with that. So anyway, I digress. Let's get to an interesting exercise. And I'm going to be way off on this. All right. I'm going to be way off on this, but I thought this was fun to do. So now I want to jump into my practice squad predictions. All right. So this is what I think it's going to look like on the practice squad. Now, I feel good about the first 12 of these guys. The last 4, not so much. And then the 17th and final guy on the list, I feel good about him too, because again, he's the only international pathway player on the roster. So they're going to keep him. And he actually flashed too. I can't say his name. I'm not even going to try. We're just going to call him HN. All right. So here's my practice squad prediction. 1, Sam Hartman. If he doesn't get claimed by anybody else, and I feel confident that he won't. But remember, when Sam went undrafted, there were a lot of teams knocking on the door. Bring, bring, bring. You like my 1987 phone, ring, dial tone, or phone ring simulation there. Bring, bring, bring. What phone rings like that today, right? Look at me showing my age. A lot of people were interested in Sam Hartman when he didn't get drafted. Those same teams could still be interested. I think it changes drastically from end of the draft and wanting to get a kid into your camp and seeing what he's about versus end of preseason, summer's gone. I've already had somebody else in my camp that I've been working with this entire time that I like. I'm just going to roll with him instead. I think Sam Hartman should be straight now, and we should be able to get him to clear waivers and end up back here in Washington. 2, Michael Wiley. Again, I feel pretty confident that Michael Wiley was really good. This is the only thing I'm worried about. Michael Wiley was really good in the preseason, and he had his moments. And I think they were hiding him in that 3rd preseason game. I'm not coming off of that. They could have played him a lot more, and they didn't. I think they're going to be able to get him to clear waivers and get him on the roster. He's good. Like, I think he could help an NFL team right now. Good. Like, Indianapolis, I look at their running backs, and they stink to me. You put him on the Indianapolis Colts, and I think he could be right there behind JT getting reps as the number 2 back. I hope nobody else sees it that way, and he's on this practice squad. Jamison Crowder. I know you're like, wait, Louie T, God damn it, man. He made the team. Leave him alone. I can't. I won't. Now, seriously, I think they're going to put in a waiver claim for a receiver. And I don't think they're going to go after a different position. I think it's a receiver for a receiver swap out. So if they get a receiver in waiver claims, Jamison Crowder is the guy that they're going to move on from, because again, there's already somebody on the roster that can do what Jamison Crowder does. Like literally, if we're talking about duplicates and redundancies, Jamison Crowder is an older, less explosive version of Olamide Zaccheaus. Olamide Zaccheaus can do everything that Jamison Crowder can do, but better because he's younger. So what's the purpose of Jamison Crowder being here? Help me with that. Which is why they put in a waiver claim for Terrace Marshall. And when they get Terrace Marshall, Jamison Crowder is going to be put on the practice squad. They're going to cut him. He's going to be a free agent. He doesn't have to go through waivers because he's a veteran. Now, I don't know if I explained that process to you guys, but I think I explained it on the channel or on the Bleacher Report stream that I did earlier that I uploaded to the channel. So if you watch that video, then you know how it works. But just in case you don't, if you've been in the league for 4 years or more, you're considered a vested veteran. You get insurance, all of that good stuff, and you don't have to go through the waiver process. Once you are cut from an NFL roster, you are immediately then made a free agent. You can sign with any team you so choose. It's the players that are still on that rookie contract that have played less than 4 years that are considered waiver players that have to pass through waivers before they become free agents. So Crowder wouldn't be subjected to waivers. He'd be a free agent. But the way I look at it is Crowder was out there lingering this offseason when we signed him, right? Nobody was, dying to get to Jamison Crowder. He's been hanging around. And so I feel pretty confident that, if they told him when they cut him, or excuse me, they didn't cut him, if they put in a waiver claim and they get Terrace Marshall, that they will go to Jamison and say, hey, bro, we want you on the practice squad. And Jamison's not going to say no. I mean, he'll go out, he'll see if anybody is looking for a 30, 31-year-old slot that can also return punts. And if the rest of the league says, no, we're good on that, man, we appreciate it, then he'll come back. And that's why I got him on the practice squad. All right. 4, Kaz Allen. They really wanted Kaz Allen to work. Damn, they wanted him to work. And he just didn't pop. He fumbled. He didn't really. I wish he would have gotten more opportunities to return punts and kickoffs, because they wanted him to make a play. They wanted to justify keeping this man because they do see talent, and so do I. I get it. I understand why. Like, he's one of those guys that if you give it to him 5 times in a game, every single time you give it to him, there's a chance that this shit could go. It could pop. But it just never did. And you need to see it first before you just assume that it could happen. So, unfortunately, it never happened for him. So he's going to end up on the practice squad. Tight end Colson Yankoff. Again, he made the roster. I know. I'm aware. I also think that, again, I think they're going to put in waiver claims on 2 or 3 guys. I think they're going to come away with at least 2 players off waivers. And the 2 positions that if one of them is not a receiver, Jamison Crowder is safe. They'll go elsewhere and find that player. But if one of them is a receiver, Jamison Crowder's out. It doesn't matter what position the other player plays. Colson Yankoff is going to have his spot on the roster yanked off. So he'll be back. They like him. Clearly, they like him a lot. So do I. Number 6, Julian Good-Jones. Lasted up until, he was one of the final cuts that they made. So clearly they like him. He offers that interior versatility of being able to play all 3 interior spots. It's just good to have one of those guys around should you have we've seen this before. So I shouldn't have to explain to you why having a guy like Julian Good-Jones on your practice squad is imperative. We've seen a rash of injuries hit our interior offensive linemen like the plague, and we were scrambling for guys like Nick Martin to come in here and try to save us. You're not going if Nick Martin is starting for you, you're in some deep, deep doo-doo. So having a Julian Good-Jones around is good, but if he's playing, shit's over. Right? Shit's over. But it's just good to have a guy that you trust that's been in your system, which is why he'll be here. Braden Daniels. Look, I don't know if there's a future for him here or not in Washington. Here's what I do know. Outside of, let me move this over just slightly. Outside of, Armani Taylor Prelude, you don't have any other tackles on this practice squad. You need tackles on the practice squad, or at least one. Braden Daniels can offer you that. I don't know if they view him as a guard or a tackle, but he's still, again, I've always said that I thought he was a 2-year project before you could even put him on the field. I don't think that you should give up on Braden Daniels yet. I fault Rivera and company for spending a 4th-round pick on this dude. The only reason that there's any vitriol that, you know, is aimed at him is because he was a 4th-round pick was spent on him. That's not his fault. But there's expectations that come with that, and he was never going to meet them. I think that there's still, you know, time for them to try to develop him. We'll see, you know. I wouldn't be shocked if he's not on this list. I think they might like Armani Taylor Prelude better than they like Braden Daniels. But we'll see. I think ultimately there are about 2 guys on this list that I say if they have more guys that they put in claims for and are awarded, excuse me, let me awarded, then I think there are certain guys that won't be here on this list. They'll be the first ones off this list. They're only here because I don't anticipate them putting in more than 2 or 3 waiver claims. So they won't be awarded 3 or 4 guys, right? Or 4 or 5 guys. So Braden Daniels is one of those dudes that I could easily see them not bringing back in any capacity. But I didn't have enough. So he's here. Javonte Jean-Baptiste, clearly he made the roster. You're saying to yourself, like you did when I had Jamison Crowder and Colson Yankoff on the list, Louie T, he's on the roster. What are you talking about? Again, if they're going after roster spots, I told you if Jamison Crowder is not, if there isn't a wide receiver, I think Jamison Crowder is safe. I think it's the same thing with Javonte Jean-Baptiste in terms of if they find another defensive end out on the streets, which I think they're looking for one, by the way. It's a 1-for-1 swap. Let me take him off, put him on the practice squad, and let me add that new defensive end in here that we know can come in and help. So that's what I anticipate. And keep in mind, even if they don't, F.A. Obata will be ready at some point, and that's the spot that he's keeping warm. So one way or another, Javonte Jean-Baptiste is going to end up on this practice squad, one way or another. Benny Poto Ai. The only reason he's here is because Noel Pollard isn't, because he's being placed on season-ending IR. If Noel Pollard was healthy and they were willing to just cut him, he would be here, and Benny Poto Ai wouldn't be. But such is life. I like Benny Poto Ai anyway, but not more than Pollard Noel. And I know they don't, Noel Pollard, and I know they like Noel Pollard more than Benny Poto Ai as well. So Anthony Pittman is only here because there's no other linebackers to be here, right? They don't hate Anthony Pittman. They don't love him either. But he's a guy, and he's a core special teamer. So again, in the event that something goes awry with somebody on the roster that you need special teams help, Anthony Pittman's the man for the job. So you keep him around. You want to keep him close, right? Chig Anuzium is definitely on this practice squad at cornerback, without question. AJ Woods feels definite. Did you see how many times they blitzed him from the nickel? And he was a very effective nickel blitzer this preseason. I think they like that. I think they like AJ Woods. And I wouldn't be shocked if he's back. I actually expect him to be back. I know Chig Anuzium, if he clears waivers, is going to be back. But I left out Tariq Castro-Fields. I skipped over him, rather, because we need to have a Tariq Castro-Fields conversation. How long are we going to do this song and dance with him? How many years are we going to do this? Isn't this his third year on the practice squad? He gets pulled up, he goes back down, he gets pulled up, he goes. How many years are we going to do this, man? This is two different regimes. The guy can't make the team. I've seen nothing that suggests that he's a starting caliber NFL corner. How long are we going to do this song and dance? I'm looking at Tariq Castro-Fields and I'm like, bro, time's up. Now, do they feel that way? Because we really don't have a lot of corner depth. Again, how about you bring a guy like Caleb Farley home? He went to Vatech. I'm pretty sure he's got family somewhere around here. I don't know where the kid is from, so I don't want to say bring him home as if I know he's from Northern Virginia or something. You know what? Let's look it up. Why not? Let's see where Caleb Farley originates from. Caleb Farley is from North Carolina. So this is close to home, right? Played at Vatech. He might just need a fresh start. A lot of things have happened in this young man's career. Again, I don't know if he's any good. He might just stink. I just say, why not put a claim in for him? What's it gonna hurt? Carolina might put a claim in for him too, right? They could use cornerback help. Why not? I'd say if I'm Washington, former first round pick, I don't know how they felt about him coming out of Vatech, but if you liked him then, again, if he's atrocious, if the technique's trash, and clearly he hasn't been taking the ball away. Let me check and see if he has any interceptions in his career, because I think I remember him having one in his rookie season, but not too much thereafter. Let me check and see. See what his stats are for his career. So it looks like he missed the entire 2023 season. He didn't have an intercept. No, he has no career interceptions. None. Didn't have one last year. Has none. So he's not taking it away. So I don't know if he'll be a guy that they covet, but I like I said, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't just say, why not? What do we have to lose? I would rather them do that than bring Tariq Castro-Fields back for a third time on the practice squad. But, KJ Henry is on this list. So these last four guys before you get to number 17, 13, 14, 15, 16, I'm not sure about. I like AJ Woods. I think they like AJ Woods. I think he has a really strong chance of being brought back. Now, the last three here, 14, 15, and 16, KJ Henry, Martavis Bryant, Amani Taylor Prelude, I'm not sure about. I just threw them in because I needed filler, right? I needed to fill out the 16. They're gonna keep 17 guys. They're gonna find 17 guys to put on their practice squad. And guess what? Not all of them were here in the summer, right? I'm adding guys that are familiar to me, that are familiar to them, that they may or may not like. But there are going to be other guys that are looking for work, that they rather say, you know what, you come over here, you come on, jump on our practice squad, let's see what you got. More so than guys that were here that they know what they are and they're not interested moving forward. So I think they're still interested in KJ Henry. Here's what I think ultimately gets in the way with KJ Henry. He's probably pissed off because he should be on this roster. He should be on this roster. We don't have enough edge rusher depth to cut a KJ Henry. He got cut because they said, you're not good enough for us to keep you over a guy we drafted. We're not cutting one of our draft picks. We want to send a message in our first year that every single one of our draft picks made the team. Sorry, you have to be cut at the expense of Javonte Jean-Baptiste. And because there's not a big enough gap between the two of them, we don't feel bad about doing it. If KJ Henry was like a pit puppy, they could convince themselves, we probably should hold on to him. When he gets a little bit bigger, he's going to bite the shit out of somebody, right? But they looked at him and he's like a wiener schnitzel. Well, he's not biting anybody. Yeah, we should probably just move on, right? And KJ's going to take that personal. Like Mike, right? Like MJ. And I took that personal. He should take it personal. I'm over here like Monica, like, hey, don't take it personal. And he's like, nah, I'm taking it personal. I'm not mad at you. I would take it personal too. And off the strength of that, he's going to look for work elsewhere. And he may choose a different team's practice squad just off of principle. I'm not going back there. They don't value me. F them. And if that's what he decides to do, I'm not mad at him. I might do the same thing. So while I think he could end up here, and remember, his dad is grew up a Redskins. His dad was a Redskins fan growing up, and Washington's close to home for him. If he gets an opportunity to go somewhere else, I think he'll take that opportunity, even if it's on somebody else's practice squad. Anyway, Martavis Bryant. Let me put a T on the end of that man's name, even though I'm not sure if they're going to bring him back in any capacity, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't bring him back at all. But excuse me. I think with his history with Dan Quinn, having been on the Cowboys practice squad last year, and the progress that he made in such a short period of time, I do think there is value in potentially putting him on the practice squad. And at some point, he may actually become valuable to you. If for some reason you're struggling in the red zone this upcoming season, and I don't see that happening, by the way. I think we're going to be a lights out red zone team. When you have a mobile quarterback and you have the type of run game that I think we're going to have this year, the best red zone teams can run the football in the red zone. I think we're going to be able to run the ball in the red zone because of Jaden Daniels and his legs, and you having to defend read option and him keeping it is going to keep that defensive end at home. So that gap between the defensive end staying at home and keeping contained and that tackle being able to get up to the second level or that guard being able to get up to that, and not really as a tackle, you don't even have to block that defensive end. So you can get up to that second level and reach that linebacker. I think we're going to be running the shit out of the football in the red zone. And so I don't know if we're going to have issues scoring, but never hurt to have a big target. I think they're going to go out in free agency here with all these cuts and go retrieve themselves a 6'2" type receiver and bring him in. So if that happens, there may not be any space for Martavis Bryant, and that's fine. Armani Taylor Prelude. The only reason I put him on this list is because I think there's a chance that Braden Daniels isn't. And you need a tackle, one on your practice squad. One of the two. I don't see both of them being here. I see one of the two being here. Or some other tackle that's not here at all. that wasn't here this summer that they got from somewhere else and brought him in and put him on the practice squad. So there will be a tackle somewhere on the practice squad. And then HN is your international pathway program player. So he's here, and I know he's going to be here. So that's what my projection for the practice squad looks like. Of these 17 names, I'm going to tell you how many I truly believe will be on the practice squad, because I know this isn't going to be close to what it looks like. Hartman is going to be here. Wiley is going to be here. Crowder is going to be here. Kaz Allen is going to be here. Colson Yankoff is going to be here. Julian Good-Jones going to be here. Javante John Baptiste going to be here. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Anthony Pittman is here. 8. Chig Anuzium. 9. AJ Woods, 10. And HN is 11. The other 6 spots up for grabs. Anybody's guess. We'll see what happens. But those are the 10 that or 11, excuse me, that I feel really, really good about. And the 17th guy, HN, is definitely here because he doesn't count against the roster. He doesn't count against the practice squad. So it's no reason not to keep him. So really, it's just 10. And then you have the 17th guy in the IPP. So that's what I think is going to take place. But we'll see what happens. Now, let's get to the comment section, see what you guys have to say. Jorn, been a member for 29 months. No comment. Just been a member for 29 months. Really appreciate you, Jorn. Abner Duran, my guy Ab. What up, Ab? Shout out to my guy Ab all the way from Mexico. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Ab writes, hey, Lou. Sup, Ab? Been a while. Yes, indeed it has, but I know it's that time. I'm waiting to see that flag. I know it's coming out here shortly. Not defending him at all, but 12 of the 33 players drafted from the Ron Rivera era survived as locks in this recalibration. All first 6 from 21. So what you got to understand is that's not a good number. All right. So 12 of 33 in a 4-year period, like those guys should still be here in some, and I'm not saying all 33, right? But you should still have 2 or 3 players from the 2020 draft that are still here that you've thought highly enough of to re-sign, right? None of them are here, I don't think, from 2020. I might be missing somebody, but I don't. Cam Curl was the only guy still here, and he's gone, right? Traded away Chase. Antonio Gibson left in free agency. That whole draft class, I think, is gone, right? 2021. That's the class you're referring to, and that's the best one Ronald had here. That one featured Sam Cosmi, who I think is going to be here for quite some time. Probably the best player Ronald drafted in his 4 years, Samuel Cosmi. We'll see. Jamin Davis, Sam Cosmi, De'Ami Brown looks to play a bigger role, right? We'll see if this one really pans out. Also, Benjamin St. Juste was taken in that same 3rd round. That's 4. I think Chris Paul was at the back end of that draft in the 7th round. He's still here. And who else am I missing from that year's draft? Defoe, 5th round pick, safety. So that 21 class still holding strong. That's what's saving Rivera right now. Else it would just be 2022 and 2023 have turned out to be embarrassments, especially 23. But 22, Jahan's no longer here. Robinson is going to be here for the foreseeable future, so that's a good one. Turner is no longer here. Chris Rodriguez is no longer here. They got rid of Dax Milne when they first got here. They I want to say Shaka Toney was at the back end of that draft, and they cut him, pretty early this offseason as well when his suspension was lifted. William Bradley King wasn't brought back. We know about Cam Cheeseman. What a disaster that was. My goodness. So obviously Sam Howell, they flipped him. They did really well to get what they got for him. Bravo. God damn it. That was a great trade. My goodness. Yeah, we thought that was going to be a foundational draft, and Fedarian Mathis is still here as a second-round pick in 2022. We thought that was going to be a foundational draft, and right now it's just B-Rob, Mathis, and that might be it. Howell's gone, Turner's gone. We had 3 7th-rounders that year. They're all gone. And they traded away their 6th to draft Cam Cheeseman in the 5th. He's gone. So unless there's a 4th-round pick that I'm not thinking about, because I believe Brian Robinson Jr. was a 3rd-round pick. What were you, John? I'm missing John Bates too. Bates is in here somewhere, right? What draft was he in? Is he the 2022 draft? Let me think. This is Bates's 3rd year, so he got to be the 2022 draft. So Bates is in there too. So he's hanging on as well. So Mathis, Robinson, Bates. Well, what's Bates 21? I think Bates is 21. Yeah, I'm pretty sure because Cole Turner was 22. So Bates was 21. So Bates is a part of that 21 draft that's holding strong. 23 is an abject disaster. And we saw it in the moment. We saw that 2023 draft class won't shit, right? When you draft Ricky Stromberg in the 3rd and you had already signed a center in free agency, and they didn't sign my man from the Giants, Nick Gates. They didn't sign him to a 1-year deal where you could go, okay, he'll come in, he'll compete against Nick Gates. They signed Nick Gates to a 3-year deal. What are you doing, guy? Then you double down on bullshit by drafting Braden Daniels, who clearly was not ready to help an NFL team anytime soon. He should have been a 7th-round pick. You drafted him in the 4th round. Man, that must be some smoke nice rock. So we saw the writing on the wall with that draft before they even hit the field. That draft stood no chance. I never liked Chris Rodriguez in the 6th. I was excited about KJ Henry. Then he got here, and I told y'all, I said, man, one of the numbers at the combine is that 3-cone, right? That 3-cone tell you a whole hell of a lot about an edge rusher and his ability to be dynamic at the NFL level. That's why a lot of these new prospects don't run the 3-cone, because that should have tell on you. That 3-cone is like a 1st grader, right? Don't you say no bad words, because I'm going to tell on your ass. That 3-cone and tell on your ass in a heartbeat. Oh, your 3-cone is 737? Oh, shit. You ain't getting to no goddamn quarterback. And KJ Henry shit was like 7-3. It was like 7-4-1 or some shit. I was like, oh, that's nasty. Yuck. It was something where I was like, yeah, that ain't good. But I still say, I still like him. And the 3-cone told on him. 3-cone looking at me like, I told you he won't shit. And I was like, I know, you was right. I know. Tried to tell your ass. I got it. Anyway, That whole draft is gone to shit. And I told you Andre Jones was trash when we drafted him. And so what a disaster. That's last year's draft, people. I don't care if a new group comes in or not. There's no way that they're supposed to be able to determine that of a draft with consistent. How many players was last year's draft? 8? Let's see. First round was Emmanuel Forbes. Second round was Quan Martin. Third round was Ricky Stromberg. Fourth round, I felt like they had 2 in one of these rounds. Fourth round was Braden Daniels. Fifth round was KJ Henry. Sixth round was Chris Rodriguez. Seventh round was Andre Jones Jr. I felt like there was another draft pick in there, but maybe it was just 7. There's no way that you can convince me that it's okay 1 year in. I don't give a shit that there's a new administration in here that has no ties to any of those guys. There's no way you can convince me that a draft that took place last year should only have 1 player remaining on it a year later. 2 players, excuse me. Your first and your second round pick. There's no way you can tell me that the third rounder shouldn't still be here and the fourth rounder at worst should still be here. There's no way. That's just poor drafting on the part of the last group. And to think one of those bastards is still in the building. He should just be fired off of principle. But it's all good because that's his boy. You know what I'm saying? That's his boy. At this point, he should just be in there just quiet. Don't say nothing. Just smile with that milk dud bald head. Don't say nothing. They say something funny, you laugh. They ask for some coffee, you go get it. Just be happy you still got a job, bro. Abner Durant. My guy Ab. Ab. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, from all those draft cuts, I still think SH deserved a better situation. But if so, JD probably wouldn't be here. So it is what it is. You're talking about Sam Howell. Look, I've done the whole, Sam Howell thing. And I'm watching what he's doing in Seattle right now. And I'm loving it like McDonald's. Because that's my guy, right? But at the end of the day, everything that happened for a reason. I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. And him not being here is because it didn't work out last year and we bottomed out. And Sam did his part. The man threw 21 INTs. Forget about the sacks. I put the sacks more so on the staff than a lot of you do. A lot of y'all, he's a slow processor. Yeah, they also had the receivers running 25-yard routes down the field with a porous offensive line. And no run game. But forget about all that. If you want to call him a slow processor, you hold on to the ball too long. He did it in college. Sure, I'll grant you that. The man threw 21 interceptions. Like, it's no getting around that. Ain't no getting around that. You could talk. I can justify some of the sacks. Ain't no talking around the 21 picks though. He had to go. That's my boy. He always gonna be my boy because I know he can play in this league. I know talent when I see it. I don't always get it right. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I do because I don't. But I know talent when I see it. Now, a guy can be talented and not make it in the NFL. Just because you have talent doesn't mean you're gonna succeed. But I know talent when I see it. I'll tell you when I see a dude that he ain't cut out for this league. Ab, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Ab writes, from all 4 drafts from the Ron Rivera era and given this 4 years to show their value, so this regime 4 years to show their value, which players were clearly there to take and were ignored by the last regime? I mean, you're asking me to go back, Ab, and consider all of those drafts. The obvious ones are the ones early in the draft. Like, it's hard to think about who was left in the 3rd round or the 4th round or the 5th round in some of these. That's hard to ask. The easy ones are Jamin Davis in 2021. We were all screaming, take JOK or take the kid from Missouri that went to the Chiefs. Like, I know I had at least 4 or 5 linebackers that had a Jamin Davis in that year's draft class. Jamin Davis was not a 1st round pick. I repeat, Jamin Davis was not a 1st round pick, and they took him in the 1st round because he had good character. He was a military guy, and he had measurables. The dude didn't even start but 1 year at Kentucky, and the only reason that happened is because his roommate had a stroke, and they needed to put somebody in at the linebacker position, and Jamin Davis, benefited from playing that year. But he was super raw. He had no business going in the 1st round, right? That's an easy one. That's low-hanging fruit. We could have drafted Chris Olave instead of trading back. People are going to hang on that one. And then even, I don't think they had a chance to select the safety from Notre Dame. After they traded back, I think he was gone. The Ravens were before us, if I'm not mistaken. But a lot of people were like, hey, we could have taken Olave. We could have taken the safety from Notre Dame. I think there's one draft in there where somebody was like, I think that was the Jahan draft. That's the same year. He was like, I wanted the Trent McDuffie. Boy, he's like one of the best corners in football right now. Now, I want to see how it goes in Kansas City because he was the best nickel in the business. And now they're kicking him outside after trading away their corner to Tennessee. So now they're moving him outside. I want to see how that experiment goes because Trent McDuffie was a dog inside. But there's so many players we could have taken in the 1st round where we just whiffed, right? Look, I don't know. People are telling me Christian Gonzalez hasn't been good in New England. That's fine. Put Christian Gonzalez ass in this system because we know his ass taking the ball away. Put his ass in this system. I think Christian Gonzalez would thrive, but we'll see. I'm not counting Emmanuel Forbes out. I told y'all this already because we haven't seen the scheme. We haven't seen him in the scheme. They just put him out there and said, figure it out. Just play man to man. Let me see what you got. They're going to put him in actual positions to jump routes and take it away, and we'll see if he can do it or not. But we could go through those 4 drafts, and I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know who was on the board. I remember one year I wanted, like, Jaquan Brisker at safety, and I'm not sure if that's the draft that we ended up taking. Who did we take in the 2nd round that year? I think that was Quan Martin. Was Jaquan Brisker a rookie last year or the year before? I can't remember. I want to say it was the year before. It doesn't matter who was available in the 2022 draft. I think that was the Jaquan Brisker draft where I wanted him, and we ended up taking Fedarian Mathis. We took Fedarian Mathis, right? Now, again, I think Fedarian Mathis can play. I know a lot of you have soured on him because he's done nothing in 2 years because he hasn't been healthy. But I'm watching this man this year, and I'm like, yo, if he stays healthy, this man can help. He's not a stiff, but he's got to stay healthy. He still wasn't worthy of a 2nd round pick, though, right? So you get where we're going with this, right? You understand. David Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, my guy, Dave. Writes, see you in DR, Louie. Bring a bottle of Grand Marnier. LOL. I love me some Grand Marnier. Remember how Chauncey used to do it on the rocks? You know where I got that from? You probably don't. I'm gonna be there, and I'll be sure that our first shot together is a shot of Grand Marnier. Hopefully the fellas They make sure that I don't sit here and get wasted having to take 9 or 10 shots. The goal is to have to only take about 7 or 8, but more likely than not, it'll be 9 or 10. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Mr. Ron B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Mr. Ron B, who writes, what's up, Lou? What's up, Mr. Ron B? The decision to keep 3 quarterbacks, which I think is the right move, in part because Driscoll earned a spot and also because Mariota's propensity to get injured. Agree? Absolutely. I agree. I think that had more to do with the decision, the latter did, than the former. Yeah, Driscoll played well. Michael Wiley deserved to be on this roster. He performed well enough. KJ Henry performed well enough. With the way the roster is constructed, he performed well enough. Like, a lot of times in the preseason, they tell you it's a numbers game. Like, that's the honest to God truth sometimes. Like, if you're just that good, to hell with the numbers. Like the safety position, for instance. To hell with the numbers, right? Numbers say that you shouldn't be keeping 6 or 7 safeties. Well, for this particular roster, with the way it's constructed, the safety position being the deepest, that's where the most talent is. To hell with the numbers. Keep the best players, right? Whereas with a guy like Jeff Driscoll, if they were confident in Marcus Mariota just staying healthy, Driscoll's probably not here, even though he performed well enough to be here. He's probably not here. But the fact that Mariota played in 1 possession this preseason and was already dealing with a groin injury after, hardly doing anything, and like you said, his propensity to get injured, you have to, it's almost mandatory that you keep Jeff Driscoll on the roster. But I agree. Jeff Driscoll definitely earned a spot on this roster. John Perez, my guy, JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, JP, writes, Lou, good to see you as always. Likewise, JP, always good to hear from you. Says we're finally getting back football back. Amen to that. We got a little taste with Florida State and Georgia Tech over the weekend. We got a little taste, a little down to the wire action. Nothing like some week 0 college football that goes down to the wire, right? I'll be away on vacation next week, but I'll be back in time to watch all the games. Enjoy the vacation, JP. It'll be here when you get back, right? We'll be here when you get back. Enjoy the vacay with the wife and the family and all of that good stuff. And we'll be here when you get back, bro. Enjoy. Smack City. Been a member for 22 months. Like a wise man once said, this ain't for everyone. Amen to that. Amen to that. I love it. I love the mindset. And you know what I love more so than words? Our action. And today was more of the same of what we've gotten from this group since they got here. And that's action. They've taken actionable steps to prove to us that they're not just talking and blowing a bunch of hot air. They're practicing what they preach. This ain't for everybody. And there's a standard and a level that we are going to hold our players to. And if you don't meet that, this ain't for you. This ain't for everyone. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JP. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, looking at our first several games, I think there could be an upset over Cincy. They're playing KC in week 2, and they'll be dog tired. I did see that. All right. I did see that there was a chance that they could expend a lot of energy trying to win that game. And that's the only thing that I said that sucked, is that instead of us getting them on short rest or just normal rest, we're getting them a day later, so they'll have a chance to recoup. That extra day is huge when you go out and you play as hard as they're going to play against the Chiefs in week 2. But I think we're going to be competitive in that game regardless. And just as an aside, since I got over 700 of you here, if you haven't already hit the like button, please do so. If you haven't already subscribed to the Louie T Network, please do that as well. Turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. We will be live tomorrow night with the NFC East Super Friends. We're back, and we're predicting the schedules and giving our season predictions for every team in the division. So you don't want to miss tomorrow night's stream. Should be a ton of fun. Yeah, we'll have a shot in that game against Cincinnati. I don't see us winning it, but I wouldn't be shocked if we did win. Wouldn't be shocked. The only games on the only game on the roster that on the schedule that I would be shocked if we won is Baltimore. Because I could see us getting to Joe Burrow, frustrating him. I don't see us bottling up Lamar Jackson. I don't. So that one I worry about. I could see us getting to Burrow, frustrating him, getting him to make a mistake or two. I could also see Jamar Chase and T. Higgins torching our ass too. So it can go both ways, but we'll see. Abner Duran, my guy Ab, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, like Defoe a lot. Is he or owns a holding place too? Okay. Is he on the roster or is he is his spot a roster spot, or is he holding a roster spot warm for someone else? I think Defoe's here. I never really questioned Defoe's roster spot until the very end. I started to kind of second guess myself a bit, like, damn, Defoe was out there an awfully long time in a meaningless third preseason game when all of his teammates were on the sidelines jumping up and down and waving a towel at Trace McSorley when he ran the dude over. And I was like, man, they got Defoe out here getting after it. But ultimately, cooler heads prevailed, and he's here. I never saw him getting cut, and I don't think his roster spot is up for grabs. Again, it obviously it just depends on how many waiver claims they put in, but I don't think they're going to put in a bunch. I don't. Elrico Anderson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Elrico writes, 85 and 1 can't block or catch equals gone. We have a consistent front. And that was my point. Been a fan since I was 5, born in 78. First time since those 3 rings, we've had the organization built from the top down properly, and now hail to the seas. That's why I'm so confident. And you won't see me second guess what's being done very often, because for the first time in a long time, we've got competent people in place. And I'm not going to say competent. Competent would mean we have guys that are capable of doing the job at a quality, solid level. I think we have exceptional people in place, special talent evaluators, right? Guys that eat, sleep, and breathe football. And if you told them they could do nothing else the rest of their life but evaluate talent and pick good football players, they'd say, okay, yeah, sign me up for that shit. Lance Newmark looks like that man falls asleep to tape. Wife comes knocking on the door. Lance, are you okay? That man knocked out watching tape. She come in, turn the tape off, put a blanket on him. He wake up at 3 a.m, want to know why the shit ain't still on, turn it back on, put it right back where he was when he fell asleep and start watching that shit again. Like, he'll go in a room, lock the door, don't brush his mouth, don't shave, don't wash his ass for like 2 weeks. He just was watching tape. Family ain't seen him. He been locked in the room downstairs watching tape for 2 weeks straight. Like them the kind of dudes. Remember, Gibbs used to not go home. He used to sleep on the couch. They asked Joe Gibbs about the Contra situation, right? That was going on. He was like, who? What? Joe Gibbs didn't even know what it was the biggest story in the world. And Joe Gibbs couldn't even tell you what the hell was going on. He was so locked in. Them the kind of guys we got now. I'm not saying that's a good thing in terms of like not being aware of your surroundings and, you know, you're doing this so much that you don't know what's going on around you. But I'm just talking about that level of dedication. I feel like we got them kind of guys. Adam Peters is going, Adam is going to make sure he take care of his kids and his wife and he's there for them. But Adam Peters is locked in. Lance Newmark locked in. The guys they brought on as scouts and personnel, develop locked in, man. This shit is different. That's why I'm so excited. So I understand why you're excited for the first time since the glory years. So am I. Mike Leslie, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mike Leslie writes, settle a debate, Clinton Portis or Marshawn Lynch? Which Clinton Portis we talking about? You talking about Denver Clinton Portis or you talking about Washington Clinton Portis? You talking about Denver Clinton Portis? Give me that guy. You talking about Washington Clinton Portis? Give me Marshawn Lynch. So it just depends on which one you're talking about. Because those two Clintons aren't the same. We brought Clinton here and we forced Clinton to put on about 10 to 12 pounds of muscle because Joe Gibbs was running him in between the tackles and 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Denver, that man was getting out on the edge in that stretch game, cutting back, looking like he was at the U, 2 1,500-yard seasons in a row, championship strap going like this. You couldn't stop that dude. Give me that guy. That guy wasn't too big, too top heavy that he was tripping over his own damn feet on cutbacks like the one in Washington. That dude was fluid. He was graceful and fast as shit. If he got on top of you, you were not going to catch him. GT7, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. GT7, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, writes, what's up, Louie? What's up, GT7? Lou, he said, you called it. Great Oracle Louie. Defoe made the 53. I'm surprised he made it. And KJ didn't after Sunday's performance. I don't really feel like I need credit for Defoe making the roster. I thought he would make the roster. I stood firm on that the entire time. I never thought he was getting cut. I did waffle. I'm not going to lie. I did start to second guess myself, but I wasn't taking him off my 53-man roster. I thought he was going to make the team. And I felt confident about that. And so I think I probably deserve more credit for the 3 running backs and McNichols in particular, because I think a lot of people was like, Jeremy McNichols, he ain't shit. Wiley better than him. Wiley making this roster. Or, I don't even think the Martavis Bryant thing deserves mentioning because I think people just got caught up, and I tried to warn people in advance, like, don't get caught up as a prisoner of the moment. Like, understand that this man is not making the roster. But I think a lot of people thought that Wiley was going to make the roster. And I didn't think that was going to be the case. And I think I was out and ahead of the Michael Walker making this roster. And that like Defoe, I felt like he was gonna make the roster. That one felt good from the jump. So he did get hurt, and I did get worried about him. But what made me feel good again was we got to the Dolphins game, and we got to the second half of that game, and Defoe no longer had pads on like the rest of the squad. And I was like, okay, that made me feel good. Now, he played damn near the whole game in the third preseason. That's what shook me up a bit. But, yeah. I thought KJ played well enough in that preseason finale to cement his spot. Again, had we had better players, he wouldn't have been here. But I thought that game showcased a different skill set from him in terms of being able to kick inside. Now, again, that was against New England's offensive line, which isn't very good. I don't know if he's doing that against anybody with a competent NFL offensive line. So there's that. Going Commando. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Going Commando. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB rights. Yankoff making the 53 gives me flashbacks of last year when Curtis Hodges made the 53. Seems like a placeholder. Exactly. Except Yankoff has upside, and Curtis Hodges had been here for like 2 years. And remember the shit Ron said? What did he? Oh, he said something crazy, and we fried his ass up in a moment. Like, are you effing kidding me? Did you really just look us in our face and tell us that bullshit as to why Curtis Hodges made the roster? I forgot what he said. Somebody dig that shit up. It was a classic Ronism where you go, what an idiot. You too smart to be saying stupid shit. And I remember when he talked about Curtis Hodges, I just looked at him with a blank stare like, you playing, man. You joking, man. You funny as hell. And Ron was looking like, who said anything funny? And I'm like, oh shit, you serious? Man, we are in trouble. I should have known. The signs were there in the offseason that we were going to be in for a long season. And boy, I ran through some red lights and some stop signs last year. I got what I deserved. I can't speak for any of y'all. I got what my ass deserved last year because I ran through a lot of stop signs because of Sam. It was because of Sam. I ran through a lot of stop signs and red lights. God damn, the signs were there. That's a good catch going Commando. It's very similar, except Colson Yankoff actually has a chance in the future. There was never a shot for Curtis Hodges. Ricardo Patillo, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ricardo writes, what up, Lou? What's up, Ricardo? Appreciate you and your work covering the team. Have you ever thought about maybe a group tailgate game party for, say, the Dallas game? First of all, you got to get me out of my house, all right, to go to a game. But I've already said, if the team gets good enough, I may consider leaving my house. I really don't want to go to another game until they get a new stadium. But they've made upgrades. Kind of want to see what those look like. I'm not going to front. And if the team's good, it'll give me a reason to leave my house. So maybe that is something that, you know, I could do in the future. But they got to show me first, right? They got to show me. Going Commando. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Going Commando writes, for all the whiffs Ronald had in the draft, he somehow may have broken the second round curse. Mathis, Quan, and Cosme give him his Super Bowl ring. We can't put Mathis in there yet. He's just here. So he survived, but he hasn't done anything yet. So we can't put him in there. Cosme and Quan Martin Cosme's already done something, and Quan Martin looks like he's about to do something. So we'll see, but there may be something to that. If he didn't break it, guess who's about to break the shit? Adam Peters, Chef P. We saw the crack that he just cooked up in the second round. 3 of them bad boys. I think all 3 of them are going to be really good, but at least 2 of them are going to be really good. Neil M. I see it. He says Rivera said of Curtis Hodges last year, that's a rookie right there. He's a young man with a tremendous skill set. Those physical traits are difficult to find. He called this man a rookie and gave him a roster spot because he was a rookie, because he got hurt the year before and didn't get to play. I remember looking at him and saying, have you lost your goddamn mind? You are fighting for your job, my guy. Not your job. You are fighting for your NFL coaching career, my guy. You're keeping, because he's a rookie, you're keeping? Okay. Somebody get Ron his Super Bowl ring. Pooping for Noopin, or P for Noopin. Been a member for 4 months. Appreciate you, who writes. Sad that we have 6 Gruden versus 12 Ron players. Gruden has been gone for 96 years, and he still got just a shade under half of what Ron has left, or half of what Ron has left. Like, that's crazy. And Ron, it just, that is mind-boggling. That his 23, the draft from last year has been disassembled. Disassembled. Unreal. Santiago Trudell. Wow. I haven't heard that name in at least 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years. How are you doing, man? Good to hear from you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Santiago Trudell. Wow. Says, blessings to you and yours, Lou. Likewise. Likewise. I think AP was listening to Tupac, staring at the world through my rear view. With Ron Rivera picks as HTTC. Look, man, what he did to, it's almost like, I know this isn't the case, but boy, it sure does feel like it. It feels like he took Ronald Rivera's comments personal about leaving this place in a better spot, and if they win a Super Bowl, I need my ring. He's like, oh yeah? I'm going to show you. You ain't getting shit. They not going to credit you with nothing when we done. They going to be making a mockery of your situation when we done with your ass. And trust me, if his guys could play, they wouldn't give a shit. They would not get rid of his guys for the sake of getting rid of them just to make a point. If they could play, they'd be here. They're just not good. Juan Gotti talking sports. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Shout out to my guy, Juan Gotti, who writes, what's up, LT? What's up, Juan? Says, Ron set us back big time. So I've always said this about Ronald. From a roster standpoint, yeah. He definitely, you know what? I wouldn't even say he set us back. He didn't move us forward, because when he got here, we had the worst roster in football. When he left here, we had one of the worst rosters in football. So he didn't move us forward, right? Set us back would be, he had a good team when he got here, and by the time he left us in shambles. Ronald left us in a really healthy, much healthier financial situation than the way he met us. He endured a lot of shit that he didn't sign up for. Name change, scandals, lawsuits, all of that shit. He dealt with a lot. Look, I'm not trying to justify the job that he did. He was awful at his job, especially when he was given the keys to be coach-centric and got to pick all of the ingredients. He did a horrible job. He should have never been given that opportunity to do that. That said, it could have been worse. Because I can assure you, a guy like Jay Gruden would not have been able to withstand the shit that Ron Rivera had to put up with. A lesser coach would have buckled under all of that pressure. So we could talk shit about Ron, as we should, but I always want to make sure that Ron could have screwed us in a number of ways. From a financial standpoint, Ron could have been a horrible, look, he wasn't the greatest communicator, but he over-communicated. But he could have screwed us in a number of different ways. It could have been a lot worse. I'll just say that. But yes, he didn't move us forward at all. At all. And that's the problem. Mr. Ron B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, KJ joked during OTAs he couldn't lose a position drill to a safety. Jamin Davis. Well, How ironic. Or as a wise woman once said, isn't it ironic? Don't you think? Oh, no. Oh, KJ. Oh, KJ. Oh, KJ. Chipper, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Chipper, writes, we can do Cincy, and I think we get in our bag during the season. I wouldn't be shocked if we beat Cincinnati. I'm not going to go into the season expecting to win that game. I made that mistake last year when I picked us to beat Buffalo, and it didn't go well. Like I said, I'm just going to enjoy this season, so I'm not going to put those type of expectations on them. But we got a chance to start the season off 2-0. And if you do that, 2-0, going into a massive game on Monday Night Football against Cincinnati, that could be a big game early in the season. Let's hope that we take advantage of, the opportunity that's presented to us. Tampa Bay's no pushover. That's a playoff team from a season ago. And the Giants have had our number here lately. We can start 0-2 as well, right? So we'll see. I won't count us out in any game we play this season. I told you we're going to be in most games that we play. The only game that feels like a kamikaze mission, and I don't think there is a single kamikaze mission on the schedule, just so we're clear. But the only game that resembles that of a kamikaze mission is Baltimore. That one feels tough because I don't think we can stop Lamar Jackson. I don't think we can stop Lamar Jackson, but we'll see, right? Joe Rockhead, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Joe Rockhead writes, Lou, Joe, confession time. Uh-oh. I'm excited, but it's on a leash. You know how this goes, Joe. You've been talking that shit all offseason. Hey, I'm not excited yet, but I like the way this is going. We know how this works, Joe. The closer you get to the season, the more that excitement builds. And once they start playing games, you can't hold that shit back, man. Let them win the first 2 games. Joe, you're going to be all in. They're going to suck your ass in like they did last year after we won the first 2 games. He said, a short, strong chain. That shit going to get longer and longer until you ain't on no leash no more. He says, my expectations are as reasonable as possible. Have an undisputed competitive identity by season's end. HTTC. The biggest thing for every fan in the fan base, we should be able to agree on this universally. There should be no one in disagreement. There's a lot of things that we as fans want to see, and it'll be spread out all over the place. There's a sector of the fan base that thinks we should win 10, 11 games this year. There's a sector of the fan base that thinks that this offense should be dynamic. There's a sector of this fan base that thinks this defense is going to be lights out. Wherever you sit, wherever you stand, good for you. But the one thing we should be able to come together and agree on is that the number one takeaway from this season when it is done is that we should have ourselves a franchise quarterback. If we have that, everything else will fall into place. That's the thing that you have to get right. You got that? We'll establish an identity. Don't you worry. They're already forging that right now as we speak, and we haven't even played a single game yet. They're laying the foundation for that. I'm not worried about that. Do we have a quarterback? I'm feeling damn good about that, but obviously it's a super small sample size. I need to see it in real games. And Justin Pugh said something really interesting that you'll see when you watch that video. But he talked about, look, Jaden might come out of the gates, guns a-blazing and killing the shit. Adjustments will be made, right? How does he adjust to the adjustments? That's going to be key. Because they don't know what they're getting. No, like that's why I like us in week 1 against Tampa. They have no idea. This gives me 2012 shock and awe at New Orleans vibes, because they have no idea what they're in store for. None. But we'll see. Gotta go out and do it first. That I'm telling you, that leash, that shit ain't even gonna exist by week 4 or 5. let us win the first 2, lose close to Cincinnati, and then beat Arizona and be 3-1. What leash, Joe? What leash? Got any grapes? Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, JC Eyes, yeah. Nothing's better. He says, made the roster. That's nice. JC Eyes. I like that remix. Like that remix. Got any grapes? Let's see how long he stays on the roster. Got any grapes? Been a member for 36 months. Salute. My guy. Got any grapes? Writes, Gruden legitimately has more picks on his roster than Ron at this point. Crowder was one of Jay's 2. Yeah, he doesn't have more. But the fact that we're even having that conversation and Jay's been gone since 2019 is unfathomable at this point. That is absurd. Okay. And it just speaks to the level of ineptitude the last 4 years, particularly in the draft. Just speaks to the ineptitude. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, stop it, Lou. Our secondary is full of ass. You were the same guy leading the Kendall Fuller Bake Ziti fan club. I can't take your word of advice here, okay? So, look, you might ultimately end up being right about this secondary. I asked everyone to do this after the pushback from the Jets, the fallout from the Jets joint practice where Emmanuel Forbes was everywhere because he was getting torched. And I said, just give him an opportunity in this scheme. And I don't care how long you give him. I'm asking for the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season, but some people are like, I'm going to give him 2 weeks. 2 weeks. In this scheme, and if shit ain't popping off, he trash, he a bust. I don't give a shit. Cool. I'm just asking for some time. I'm just buying time. All right. I just want to see what it looks like. And you might be right. I'm a Michael Davis fan. I think Michael Davis is going to be good. You already know, and I'm not moving off of this spot. I already told y'all Michael Davis is going to be what Ronald Darby was in 2020. Michael Davis is going to be for us in 2024. They just don't know it yet. But I got confidence in Michael Davis. So with that said, I'm not going to call this secondary ass. And if you'd have said corners, I might have listened. You said secondary. Our safeties aren't bad. It's the deepest part of our team right now. So I beg to differ there. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Swaggy P, writes, I'm starting to think the couple draft picks that turned out well from the Rivera era, he lucked into. Of course he did. That wasn't skill, right? Everybody gets lucky once in a while, right? Dennis Green voice. Rivera is who he thought he was. You got to hit the table when you say that. And I'm glad we let him off the hook. That first year was fool's gold. And keep in mind, that first year was 7-9, my friend. Okay, it's not like we went 9-7 and won the division. We won a bad division at 7-9. And I told you the worst thing that happened to Ron was winning the division at 7-9, because it was that season that not only injected false hope into the fan base, it also injected false hope into Ron, and it forced him to move his timeline up from when he told us 3 to 4 years to change the culture to now I'm trying to go out here and get Matthew Stafford. Now I'm trying to get Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers to come in here, and none of them were coming here. And he went for it, and he went out and got Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he was going for it. And we weren't ready. We weren't a good team at all. Still a bad roster at that point. And at that point, you could see what was happening, right? Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, please no 1-3 or 0-4 Ron start this year. F out of here, Lou. No, we don't want that, right? And the key to that is getting off to a fast start. If you lose to the Bucks in week 1, you could get off to an 0-4 start, theoretically speaking. Like, beating the Bucks is huge because beating the Bucks puts you in a position. It's the same exact thing that we talked about back in 2021. When we had the Chargers week 1 and then the Giants week 2 on a Thursday night, if you recall. Heineke comes in relief of Rich Fitzpatrick, who got injured, and Antonio Gibson fumbles the football. We lose that game, 16-13 or whatever it was. And that put all that pressure on that week 2 game against the Giants. Like, you don't win that, you 0-2, you might as well kiss the season goodbye. You might as well kiss the season goodbye if you don't win that game. And we won it, right? And so it gave us a chance to have a season. And remember, that season ended up we were 2-6 that year. Because we started out 1-1, we were 0-1, then we were 1-1, then we were 1-2, then we were 2-2, right? Beat Atlanta. And then the wheels fell off. And we lost 4 in a row. And it looked like the season was over. And we came off the bye and we beat Tampa Bay, and the rest is history. I don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But a long story short, you don't want to start the season off 0-2. And losing to Tampa puts you one step closer to starting the season off 0-2. And if you go 0-2, you're probably going to lose to Cincinnati. And if you lose to Cincinnati, you're probably going to lose to Arizona on the road. And now you're 0-4, just like that. And the shit don't get easier after that either. So it's imperative that we get off to a fast start, because that's going to give you a chance when that tough stretch of the schedule comes and you need to lean on some of those wins to keep you afloat, to give you a chance to have a season. You come out of the gate slow. I expect this team to get better as the season progresses. So I wouldn't be shocked if they start off the season slow, but you got to find a way to win a game or two in that mix. And I think that's what playing defense is going to allow us to do, right? Jay Black, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jay Black writes, Lou, do you have any Ron's Plan shirts left? I need to start a bonfire. As a matter of fact, I got one on right now under the shirt that I'm wearing. I sure do. They've turned into glorified house shirts at this point. I don't wear them outside of my house. Damn. What could have been. Also, Lou, go to a game. You can upgrade your credit by the fourth quarter. I eventually will, I think, go to a game because I expect them to be good here sometime in the near future. So I'm gonna be out there at some point. I find myself now that I want to see the upgrades that have been made, and I'll be leaning on a lot of you at Northwest, Stadium. I'll be leaning on you. Let me see if it's stadium or field. I gotta figure out what this thing is called officially. Commanders new stadium name. Northwest Stadium is what it's going to be called, not field. Northwest Stadium. So with that, I want to see some of the improvements at Northwest Stadium. So I might be out there not too far in the future. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, oh yeah, and Lou, Shout out to the Cherry Squad. Y'all know what it is. Stand up. We in the building. Cherry Squad been holding the kid down for the longest over on the Discord. That thing has taken on a life of its own. I mean, I went in there the other day and there were so many different chats and so many different rooms you could find yourself in. They've got this room and they've got that room, but they always keep the main thing the main thing. So, whether Rio or Rico or Juan or anybody puts out content, they've got all those guys locked in there, and boom, they put a video out. You're going to know about it if you're locked into the Discord. They take care of everybody in there. It's a family environment. I love it. They stay talking shit about me. I heard your jokes. Okay, I told y'all I'm a lurker, so I see a lot of the shit. I laugh to myself. I don't say nothing. Then half the time I can't find y'all comments. Y'all are at me. I click on the shit. It'll take me in there, but it doesn't take me to your comment. And then I start scrolling trying to find it. I can't find the shit. But man, shout out to the Cherry Squad, man. Y'all have been awesome. 3 years strong now, he says. Shout out to Mike Jones. Who? Mike Jones, aka Joe Rockhead's GOAT. And big shout out to you, Lou. Salutes. Salutes to you, Big Money Sonny. Santiago Tredell, thank you for being a member for 7 months, who writes, I'm ready for the Louvu Wagner combo. Aren't we all? We haven't seen it once in the preseason because Wagner didn't need to be out there. But I can't wait to see that thing, because there were so many times where I felt like tackles could have been made if Wagner were out there that didn't get made, that will be made because Wagner's out there. So, yeah, this is going to be fun, man. I told you, I got a lot of confidence in this defense. I expect it to be really good, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of them be on the field at one time. Juan Gotti talking sports. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, those draft picks hurt now. DQ has to clean it up. Facts. Absolutely. They should have more talent on the roster than they do. But guess what? If we had more talent on the roster, those guys might not be here, right? We would not have been bad enough to put ourselves in a position to get the number 2 overall pick. They might not have traded Montez Sweat and Chase Young because we suck so bad, and they knew we were going to suck, right? We might not have had all those assets to attract Adam Peters here. So, and then you wouldn't have had all the cap space. Part of the reason, and while I give Ronald credit for the cap situation, it's also a backhanded compliment, because the reason we have so much cap space is because you ain't draft dudes worthy of getting new money here. You drafted a bunch of shit, so you didn't have to pay anybody. So that's why all this money is just sitting here, chilling. You should have been extending Chase Young right now. You should have been extending Montez Sweat. You should have been extending some of these guys. Antonio Gibson should have gotten paid here if they were good. But you didn't draft well enough, so you didn't have to pay anybody. That's part of the reason why we have so much money. Jason Fios, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Jason, writes, what's up, Lou? What's up, Jason? Just feels a little meh at this point. It feels like he's cutting any Ron guys. It's got to be something else coming. What brought him here? So, like I said, and I told you guys this from the jump, if it came down to one of their guys or someone that preceded them, and again, all things equal, they're going to go with their guy. Or it doesn't even have to be equal. Just let it be close. Like, if you want to be on this roster and we didn't choose you, you have to leave no doubts. Leave no doubt. I have no issues with what they've done to this point. And I don't really know what some of you are expecting in year one of a recalibration as they search for their north. Their northwest. I don't really know what you guys are looking for. I don't know what you were expecting in year one. This is what it's supposed to look like. Outside of the Jahan Dotson trade, everything makes 110% sense. And even the Jahan trade, I get it from if he was pouting at practice, if there was bad body language, and then I get it because you're setting a culture and you can't have that shit permeate your culture. If there's none of that going on, if you can't if there's no validity to the whole Jahan, moping around, bad body language, all of that good. If there's no validity to that, then I can't endorse them trading him because he provided value here still. But if you tell me, not only was he not physical, because my answer to his lack of physicality is what it's always been. Don't put him in those situations. Send him in motion. Put him in stacks and bunches so he doesn't get hemmed up at the line of scrimmage. Don't put him at the head of a wide receiver screen where he has to be one of the lead blockers. Don't do it. He still served a purpose. But if you tell me, hey, he was trying to undermine the culture that we're trying to set, okay, get his ass out of here. And quick. And he's not physical, give me a reason. I got it. So again, I don't, it's not meh to me. The roster might be meh, but that's what they inherited. They did the best they could with the situation that they inherited. I'm not upset. I'm not upset at all. Neil M, been a member for 14 months. My guy Neil writes, Panthers tight end Curtis Hodges signed 8/1/24, cut 8/3/24. And that could have been anything. He could have gotten injured. He could have decided he didn't want to play football anymore. They wanted to see him like, this kid's big. He's, let's see what he's got. And they get him out there and they're like, okay, no, this guy he's not going to cut it. Right. That was very quick though. That was like Homer Simpson's grandpa or dad, Abe, right? Walking in the pub, put his hat down, walked in a circle, grabbed his hat, put it back on his head, walked out of the pub, right? It's kind of the same deal. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny, writes, shout out to Juan Gotti for keeping Forbes getting cooked on his hotline infomercial intro for his videos. Hey, y'all got to leave my guy alone, man. Side note, got a new acronym for us this year. I'm not going to ask you what that is because, again, I don't know if you were asking me or you asking a question. I don't know if you're asking me or you telling me you got one, but you asking in the form of a question. But I know that luck is still out there. I told y'all a long time ago, he will never, ever in life get me again. Ever. Right? I'm so locked in that he could never come to a stream again and I'll still be talking about luck. Hey, that could be luck. So I don't know what you're asking me, but I'm not going to try to find out either. Okay. Anyway, I digress. So what a day it was today. New naming rights to the stadium, Northwest Stadium, 8-year deal running through the 31-32 season. 53-man roster cut down. Interesting decisions were made, but nothing too crazy. And now we wait. Tomorrow at noon, the NFL starts the waiver process. I think by 4 o'clock tomorrow, we should have some information as to, remember, we don't have to wait very long to find out what's going on with these waivers. If Washington put in a waiver claim and the Panthers didn't, that player is ours. So we'll find out after 12 o'clock noon tomorrow on some of these players and should make for some interesting discussions. But anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the command post live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Until next time, which means tomorrow, I'll see you guys. And you guys have a good one. Take care. And we'll be back. I'll be back. Should be podcast and another command post show tomorrow. We'll see how everything happens. If that information comes out early enough, boom, we're jumping on live immediately because we got the Super Friends tomorrow night. And so that's going to eat up the whole entire night. So I'm not planning anything for the rest of that night. I want to get the show and the podcast in early in the day and then leave the entire night open for the Super Friends. So we'll see what happens. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, you wild with that luck-ish, Lou. I'm telling you. Fool me once. Fool me twice. You won't get me again, right? Question was for you. Do you have a new acronym or saying for us this year? Not yet. Those are organic. I don't usually like sit down and have a pad and, oh, this one's pretty good. Nah, let me cross that one out. I like this one. Like, I don't actually sit like the shit just comes to me, but it's usually organic. Something's gonna happen in the season that prompts me to go, you know what? That's the mantra for the year. Nothing's happened to this point yet. So I don't have anything yet, but we'll see, we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. Y'all enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. I look forward to chopping it up with you tomorrow. We will have more Commanders news tomorrow, so I'll be back. Until then, take care. God bless. Good night.